be ready. Your Filipino is going to come at a cost. So, can you afford her? That's what we're going to discuss today: the financial cost, the emotional cost, and the physical cost. So, let's delve into those three costs and see if you, like me, could afford a Filipino. Let's see. Hi, good people. Grace and Jonathan back again. And we're going to spend some time discussing this subject about the cost of finding a Filipino and marrying her. And basically, we're going to break it down into kind of three costs because you've got the financial cost. So you've got to take that into account. You've got to calculate what that is. You've also got to look at the emotional cost, you see, the emotion and the physical. When I'm talking about physical, the time, the time, all the practical things about the reality of the kind of time you need to go on this venture and to find a Filipino and perhaps to bring her home like I did. So I can just talk about my own personal experience, okay? This is not advice, this is not any financial advice, this is just purely for entertainment. It's just our opinion.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's mainly from my side, so it's my opinion mostly. But we'd like to hear a little bit about how Grace feels about this. Yeah, that's good if you mic up too.
I forget.
All right, then. So let's start off. Now, why are we even discussing this? The cost. Well, the thing is that you don't want to start a venture. It's like you don't want to start building a house, for instance, and then find out you've run out of money because that's just a disaster. That's failure, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got to like think about the cost before you even try and go and find a Filipino. Because it might, if you think about the costs like beforehand, you might realize, no, I've got a particular friend and he's really wants to find a Filipino. But just with me knowing his circumstances, I could see that he cannot afford it. And this is what scares me because he might have the financial means to get there. Um, but the last thing we want for him is to be stuck there. And there's no givens. So he's not even sure if it's going to work out with his wife or his fiance or whatever. So this is why I've thought about discussing this particular subject because it could be serious. Imagine going to the Philippines and spending what you have because you want to please your Filipino
Yeah.
wife and they want to be pleased as well, and then only to find out that you run short of money and all those promises, all those the planning that you've made with her is all going to come and be naught. And this is what we want to try and help people to avoid, because like even I say to him, I said, there's lots of women close by, why don't you just target somebody around this particular area where and they know how things work and what's affordable for you. So, but sometimes we get into our minds this notion that we want a Filipina. And I must admit, I fell in love with the Philippines by looking at blogs. And, you can get just caught up in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when you do find somebody, it becomes harder and harder to pull out. So, therefore, the cost is important. Now, from the outset, I just want to tell you, I haven't got a costing for you, okay? Because when I started this journey, I didn't record every cent that went into our dating,
Yeah.
our online business, what the cost of all the online um, fees were, the time, etc. All that. I never ever wrote that down or got a costing for it. Likewise, when I got to the Philippines, the flight tickets, the accommodation, the pleasing of everybody, the family, and hosting lots and lots and lots of people, and then the wedding.
Yeah.
And then there were other things, like I was sending you money during the period, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And what were you doing with that money?
Using for my requirements for my visa.
Yeah. So she had lots of requirements, to get
Yeah.
those documents. And, like I've said before in other blogs, that you can go back and look at, the Philippines, you've got to buy all these different certificates in order to get the next level, I mean, it's 4 certificates just to get your passport. So that took a lot of time, a lot of money,
Yeah.
a lot of travel, because a lot of those places you had to travel how many hours?
18.
18.
Shop. I can't remember.
I know. Well, the one place is about 3 hours away, but then you even have to go to Davao, which is like 5, 6 hours, eh?
Yeah.
And then there's accommodation. So can you imagine all those costs? And who do you think's paying for all of that? So think carefully. It's a lot of money that goes into this. And then, of course, if you think of the big cost, which was the wedding, hey? Now, granted, it doesn't cost anywhere near what it would have cost for a wedding of that size, 100 people, venue at a resort in, for instance, the UK, or I imagine in the States. It would have cost a lot more. But, around about
Mm.
£5,000 is still a large amount of money to be spending on a wedding,
Yeah.
okay? Especially when, it's an important event.
Yeah.
It's something that is important to every single Filipino girl. They wanted. I mean, remember what did I want for a wedding? Maybe you want to share that to the viewers. Where did I want you to come to get married?
I remember October.
But where?
I can't remember that.
Okay, I was telling her she had to come to South Africa, because obviously if she came to South Africa, then it would have been a lot easier to process her visas and everything else. And I knew if she came here and she got married here, she would be with me while that visa application was going through, versus what happened, which was we got married in the Philippines and it still took 6 months. So we were 6 months apart. Okay, so I had asked you to come here. Now, that would have made it a lot cheaper for us.
Yeah.
But I obviously understood the need that your families need for a wedding in the Philippines. And therefore, that's why I said, okay, fine, we'll go to the Philippines and do it that way. Okay. But it wasn't in my plan in the beginning. My plan in
Yeah.
the beginning was for you to come to.
South Africa.
That's what it was. But it changed, like lots of things. And this is why, we're going to talk about later on. It's the emotional side. There's lots and lots of upheaval with all the changes that have to take place. So are you able to do that? Mm. All right. So it was the wedding. And then, of course, it was all the flights
Yeah.
up and down to Manila to get the visa sorted out. And it wasn't just me and Grace. I took her father with us. And then it's the hotels. And then it's the travel. And then it's getting the visa. And then it's to get all the documentations for her medicals. So there's lots and lots. So, like I said, I haven't kept a detailed account, but I would say I've spent probably close to £10,000,
Yeah.
um, to have Grace sitting next to me right now. So, do you think it's worth £10,000? Now, I don't want people to think that I'm viewing Grace as a commodity,
Mhm.
because she's not. I mean, for £10,000, definitely, that's well worth it. Eh? I could have bought how many double cabs in the Philippines for £10,000?
Two or three.
You mean I could have had 3 Toyota Hilux double cabs? No, no. All right. So right now I'm not driving a car. Hey,
Yeah.
I've got my dad's old car that he passed on to me when he passed away. So it's a nice car. It's like 35 years, 30
Yeah.
30 30 years old, but it goes well. It's an old BMW. So I'm trying to keep it on the road because, like I said, we are not sure where we're going to go to. Okay. So we've looked at the costs, right? And there's lots of incidental costs. But I'm just going to give you a ballroom figure. If you want to go and get a provincial girl in the Philippines, fly there, fly back, go back, pick her up, take her back. This is the cost that I'm talking about. All right. Now, I still think that is a bargain.
Mhm.
You know why? Let's just talk about Grace. Okay. So, um, why do I think Grace is a bargain? Well, the thing is, she's a lovely woman, and the things that she does, she's made my house feel like a house again, like a home. All right. So that's nice, and I can see every day that she's making it more of a home every day. And the way she cooks, she's an amazing cook. In fact, I stole her from her parents who have a little cooking business, and she was doing all the cooking. So they went their business when I took Grace. But she loves to cook, and but it's not just the cooking. It's not just the fact she makes the house a home. She's a good companion, and she's a good team player. So I'm sure things are going to get better and better as we grow closer and closer in time. So we've discussed now the financial side.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the emotional upheaval because you've got to calculate that in as a cost. All right. So let's just think when I met Grace, it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there was no indication when it was going to stop this. And um, everywhere was shut down. So we couldn't get into the Philippines.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of emotional stress.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. At our age, the thing that kills us is stress.
Stress.
Stress. And that was a very stressful period.
Yeah.
So you have a situation where you can't get to the person you want to be with. You have a situation where the person that you want to be with cannot leave the country because she doesn't have the documentation. Okay? You have the stress that the person is very scared to leave her country because that's all she knows. And she kind of wants you to come there. But you kind of realize that this is not practical at this time. So that's another stressful situation that you've got to overcome. What are some of the other stresses? Oh, I could think of so many before. You've got the stresses of dealing with her family, all right, to get all the permission, and then you've got also to deal with the authorities.
Yeah.
Now we've just had an email um, from the CFO department. And that's the governmental department that allows people to leave the Philippines. So even if you've got a passport, even if you've got the right of having a passport, doesn't mean if you're a single woman you can just leave the Philippines. So that's something you also got to check if you want to take your spouse to America or wherever. You got to make sure she gets that CFO certificate. And we went through that whole, I can call it a palaver because it was. It was a lot. It was 6 months of back and forth. It's supposed to be a situation, if you look on Google, that you go into their office and 2 hours later you walk out with the certificate. But it was none of that, was it?
No.
It was none of that. It was interview after interview after interview, and then they wanted to re-interview. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then years have gone past, and we get an email from them today to state that can we please come in and get that reviewed again? Wow. Like we're the other side of the world, we're living, she's got her right to stay here, And the Philippines are now asking her, within like a week to bring in this documentation so they can verify it again. So it's like you got all those stresses, and you got to think, do I need all of that? Or can I cope with all of that? Right? So that's some of the stresses that you have, the bureaucracy of the country, even though you're not even living
Yeah.
in the country any longer. Okay. But you also have the stress that Grace has, because you have worries, don't you?
Yeah.
What are your worries?
Maybe I'm worried before if I'm not past the CFO
Mhm.
review. Maybe I can't leave the country to be with my husband.
Uh,
That's a big worry.
And remember, at this point, we were actually married.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like she was just leaving to go somewhere to be with somebody she doesn't know.
Mm.
We had been actually married by the mayor of the council. And this was my kind of my argument. How can they allow this person to get married? And you get married by the mayor. They've gone through the process. I mean, we had counseling sessions and
Yeah.
all kinds of things that they make you do that you pay for. And then you get all that and you get married. And now they can still stop you from going to join your husband. I mean, that's quite. So I think we were going to do a follow up video on how safe are Filipinos
Yeah.
in a foreign country, because I think there's a perception out there that Filipino women can be easily become vulnerable.
Mm.
But from my kind of analysis, seeing how the Philippines has dealt with grace, they are very strict. Okay, they take it very seriously, and they ensure that they know exactly at all times where their citizens are, which I think is an amazing tribute to a third world country like the Philippines, that they do take that interest and that they do know exactly
Yeah.
where their citizens are, especially if they are a woman.
Yeah.
So, I take my hat off to them, and I also, therefore, like to maybe look at this subject of, because people, I think, do worry that, Filipino women are being trafficked or whatever. I'm not saying they're not being. I'm just saying, if it's through the legal setups of the
Yeah.
state, there are checks and balances, and they are working, because you know I've seen it. All right, so it's the emotional state. So if you're an elderly man thinking of the Philippines, just think about what's it really going to cost you. Okay. Secondly, stress. Your think about your medical, mental well-being. Can you cope with all these issues, dealing with the bureaucracy to get you out the country? Okay. And I think in many ways, the way I've seen it, if you're going to go and stay there, it's even doubles that stress levels even higher, because now you've got to think of where you're going to stay. Um, you can't be put on your name.
Yeah.
How trusting are you? Blah blah blah. There's so many more issues that I can think of if you're going to stay in the Philippines. But if you're going to bring her home, well, there's still these. But you also have the stress because you worry about your family, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, you just had how many earthquakes there?
It's lots of earthquakes there.
Yeah, they've had 3 earthquakes in this last month, where her folks live. So yeah, she worries a lot. So there's a lot of it is stressful, and obviously what stresses her, will stress me,
Yeah.
because she wants this and she wants that and she wants to fly home, and because this is how things work when you live so far away from your family. Okay, so we've dealt with the financial, we've dealt with the stress.
Yeah.
What was the other one? I've forgotten now. Is it the physical side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there is a cost. There is a cost, having a younger woman. All right. And this is what you've got to think about, because they are younger. they're strong, and they are still wanting to do things. Like I mentioned, I think yesterday in the blog, the situation where you would just run up to me and jump in my arms, you
Yeah.
know, or run behind me and jump on my back,
Mm.
or do things like that, which is lovely. It's natural, it's good. But just think, if you maybe not well balanced, or if you're not got a frame that can handle, because obviously the Filipinos are not that big, but they've ate rice their whole life, so they're pretty heavy. No, that's just a joke. Sorry. So the situation is, you just got to be careful, because a younger Filipino will be doing things, pulling on your arm, dragging you there, dragging you there. Come, let's go, let's walk, let's. So physically, are you able? Likewise, if you're going to live in the Philippines with that heat, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
I felt it. I did a lot of walking in the Philippines. Um, I just refused to catch those what's those things called? TikToks, not TikToks,
Tuk tuk.
Tok Toks. Because when they saw me coming along, they just doubled the price and quadrupled.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that far, so. And that I was also. It was a bit of a point, because here in Africa we walk a lot. In the Philippines, I mean, Grace didn't want to walk 20 meters. She wanted to catch her tricycle. They're very lazy to walk. So, yeah. So, but I understand why, because it is hot. And of course, the Filipino women don't really want to be in the sun, do you?
No.
No, because that just makes them go dark, eh? So, we're a bit different, although I need to stay out of the sun. Um, but I quite like the walk. I do understand. I mean, I was there like 6 weeks, and you do kind of, what's the word? Acclimate, not, oh, goodness. What's the right word? No,
Climate.
no, it's something like that.
Um.
Anyway, you do get used to the weather.
Humidity.
Yeah, in a way. My only problem was, I didn't mind it during the day,
Yeah.
because it did rain a lot, so that kind of cooled things down in a way. I just that I didn't like it in the evening when you want to sleep, and that made it difficult. Okay, so definitely you had to have a fan, all right,
Yeah.
and also to keep the mosquitoes off you. So yeah, so it's those three particular aspects that, please think about it, before you kind of make any strong decisions. Is the cost? What is the other one? The
Emotional.
emotional. It's up and down, up
Yeah.
and down, up and down, up and down, all the way until you get her to your home, or you get her in a routine together,
Yeah.
where you also have to change. I mean, I've had to change a lot to fit in with Grace, and likewise Grace has had to do a lot to fit in with me. Oh, the other one that I forgot to mention, I just remembered now, is probably the biggest cost that is faced myself,
Yeah.
was the societal cost of kind of being cancelled.
Yeah.
Okay, that is an issue. All right, so before everybody looks at you and everybody's happy with you, and then as soon as you go and you get a Filipino wife, it kind of changes.
Yeah.
All right, so that is a huge cost. Now that's a cost you can't actually put a price on. Okay, it's a society type thing. So you either get out of that society, which is very difficult to do, because it means you basically have to go to the Philippines, and there you'll be okay. Um, it's something you've got to work, and I know other Filipinos that live in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're actually all business people, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're women that have married quite wealthy businessmen, and they're running businesses, and they've done quite well. But I think it's taken many years to get there.
Yeah.
And what I did notice, their age gaps wasn't as obvious as
Yeah.
ours. I think their age gap was like 10 years between. It wasn't 40 years. So I think that also plays a part. So there's the four aspects. Okay, financial, count the cost. It's the emotional.
Physical.
It's going to be up and down, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the physical. Can you handle a Filipino jumping on your back, or pulling you down in the swimming pool, or pushing you into the swimming pool, or making you chase her, or expecting you to do things?
Yeah.
And the other thing was society. Okay, so those are the four costs really. That if you can handle those and you can afford those,
Yeah.
then go for it. Because like I said, what's sitting next to me is worth that and a lot more, as far as I'm concerned. And that's why I was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
And what do you think? I mean, you also had costs to think about. Were you were you happy with the decision you made? Did you count the cost? And yeah. So, guys, think about it, and we'll come up with something else to talk about tomorrow. Um, but this is just something me and Grace wanted to share with you now.
Yeah.
And if you like what you have seen, please keep supporting us. Keep liking it. It helps the algorithms, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Subscribe
Yeah. Subscribe,
and
please.
also message, share, and push the notification bell. And also, don't want to forget our
Comments.
YouTube channel.
Yeah. And comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting comments now, so
Yeah.
that's good. And we're trying to reply to them.
Yeah.
You're replying, hey Grace?
Yeah.
I'm replying. So yeah, we'll keep on top of it. So it's nice chatting with you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Keep well. Bye.
Bye.